What do you call a one-legged hippo? A hoppo. What's going on, YouTube? We have our weekly vendor resets. Restart with our first one in Apocrypha. These goes from Tuesday at 10 a.m. all the way through till next Tuesday. Restart with Filer Ul. You can get yourself some free coins if you touch it on the table, but these ones, for some reason, unpickupable. And restart with our mythic leads here at the top, which is our Dovra Sabaton Tocap, which normally comes from Southern Elsewhere Sigic portals, which admittedly can be pretty annoying. Is it worth 5,000 archival fortunes? The Dovra Sabatons are not known for being exceptionally good, but this is one of the leads that is definitely pretty annoying. Whenever you need something like Sigic portals, the game makes sure that you just don't see any of them. Ever used to pray for leads like these? It's the Welcomed Jewel. This actually is one of the pieces of the Torque of the Iliad King, which notoriously only drops from Infinite Archive chests and notoriously only drops to people who don't want to use it. Everybody will fill the comments saying, Jake, I ran Infinite Archive one time. Every single chest just gave me this lead that I don't want. But then the people who want it, they just never see it ever. So unfortunately, that's how the Torque of the Iliad King works. It's a fantastic mythic, a fantastic lead. Let's move on. Next, we have our bound style page, which you can see right here on my shoulder. I actually think this one looks pretty cool, but if you go to the market, everybody's like, fuck it, just unload this bad boy. You have people selling this for like 78,000 gold, which is just odd to me, but if you want to get this cool shoulder, instead of spending the archival fortunes, maybe you just go to the vendor and buy it right now because people are using this as a chance to offload it. Next, we have our bound treasure maps, which you can sell the items that you get from them. Gold Coast, not very good. Gold Coast, notoriously sets are unless you want to roll dodge through people or do some sort of weird sumo wrestling type build. Gold Coast, not for you. And even if it was, generally there needs to be some better items than just good sets. So unfortunately, that one's a skip. Now, light armor, if you want to go into the healing, kind of meta with the companion, you might want to gamble on light armor because at least you're guaranteed to get the armor piece that you need, that being a light one for a healing trait. Generally, I think the market's going to kind of crash on these during the next ESO event, which I believe begins January 23rd because it's going to come from, you're going to get companion gear from there. So I think just maybe wait on that, but overall, not a bad get. This next fragment comes from High Isle Volcanic Vents. Skip this. The two books that I'm not allowed to ever skip or everybody will unsubscribe. Here we have Reject the Pact, which honestly, bit of a banger, if I'm being honest. And then the second one are What About Glyphics? What about them? You have to read it to find out. Next, we have Force, Heroism, Mitigation, and Cavalier's Charge. Now, unfortunately, these things are ridiculously expensive. Even if you already own them being 2,000 archival fortunes is a huge investment. But I would say that Heroism is a great one to have. Mitigation and Force are also good. So is Cavalier's Charge. If you are desperate for these mythics for an upcoming event, or maybe you're doing something very specific, these are decent scripts to consider, but it's just very hard to do that when you have to use a premium currency. Then we have our Erroneous Archive map, which comes just from the Infinite Archive as is. And then we have our Plagued Drenched Fabric, which actually is a pretty expensive one to normally purchase, if I'm not mistaken. So this one's actually not too terrible. Next up, we're inside the Scholarium, which is inside of Ivea, which is actually outside the plane of existence right over here. And if you go to the Scholarium Vendor, you'll be able to purchase these items, the scripts that are rotational. So we have Evasion, Shock Damage, and Assassin's Misery. Class Mastery is fixed, so it's here every week. Now, of these ones, these are all kind of like, if you don't have them, you might want to purchase them, but there's none of these that are like, oh my gosh, guys, you got to get to the vendor right now. Evasion is in store. Because if you desperately were doing some weird cattywampus thing with Evasion, you probably farmed it already. This is really to kind of returning, players or mid-game players or even end-game players who just kind of casually do, daily quests. They probably already have all of these scripts anyway. To round us off, we have the Lambient Passage Imperial City sewers vendor. So we have our first Telvar merchant here, and we have Night Slayer Necklace. Your fully charged heavy attacks deal an additional 8% of an enemy's max health of Oblivion damage. This can deal a maximum of 8,000 Oblivion damage. And I think you have to have like 100k health or something ridiculous to basically take 8,000 damage. I'm not a mathematician here, so please don't quote me on that. But you would think this would be good for PvP, and there's definitely some PvP utilizations. Magicka, weapon and spell, and health is definitely a decent 2, 3, and 4. But it does run into some problems when you look at it and you're like, 8,000 Oblivion damage, but I'm not probably going to get anywhere near that amount of damage on most players. That's where it starts to run into some problems. So in a very specific type of counter meta, yeah, sure, this could be good, but generally it's probably going to be like a 6.5. But certain metas, you might see this to be significantly higher. In the current meta, with people just stacking endless buffs and not having, you know, nobody has 100k health. There are some people who are buffing crazy amounts of health, but in this meta, I would say it's 6.5. But it could go higher if we start to see more of a high health, high resistance meta versus this just stacking buffs and heals on you meta. Next up is the Sentry set. Now, Sentry's a really interesting set because people abuse this set in Imperial City to find Nightblades and steal all of their Telvar. If you think of it as this type of set, if it's just a Telvar stealing set, this is a 10 out of 10. So its best utilization is fantastic. It literally lets you go to the Imperial City, see people who are trying to be stealthy, and then wax them. So if you, it's a staple of the Imperial City. So I guess we'll just give it a 10 out of 10. It's 2, 3, and 4 is stam, weapon and spell, crit chance, and 266 weapon and spell. So it's 5-piece of 266 weapon and spell is not even bad, but the extra bonus of stealth detection is just great. So overall, I'm actually a huge fan of this set. Do I think that it's a 10 out of 10 that everybody needs to go out and purchase right away? Definitely not. But it is still very good in that utilization. Next, we have Chain of Vampire, which is odd because it actually drops to a werewolf mythic. Don't ask me why on that. I mean, it does drop from Harrow Storm, so I guess from there it makes sense. So, comes from Harrow Storm, so you might think, okay, Harrow Storms, you know, pretty annoying, but it also is Shapeshifter's Chain. Now, Shapeshifter's Chain is unfortunately just a worse Oaken Soul for most werewolves anyway. Reduce the cost of your transformation, ultimate, and werewolf abilities by 15% while transformed. You increase your max health and stam by 1707. It's not bad by any means, but it's just outclassed by Oaken Soul. And if you're a werewolf, why wouldn't you just use that? Is the problem. Then we have the Dureni Elegy Loop, which how many of those words I pronounce correctly is anyone's guess, but it comes from the Pale Order ring, which is great. It's the ring that basically allows you to infinitely heal yourself, but the healing is reduced based on how many group members you have. So it's great for solo arena content, you know, types of content like that, maybe even Infinite Archive, but stuff. But it comes from a Delve boss in the Alakir Desert, so don't do that. Next one is a juicy one, and I always like juicy ones because it gives me the ability to think out loud with you guys. So we have Telvanni Peninsula treasure maps, only 6,000 Telvar. So 6,000 Telvar, you think to yourself, okay, you could buy like a triglyph and make like 10 to 15,000 gold. Well, you could also purchase that right now and get a Telvanni Peninsula treasure map. And notably, those treasure maps are going to have some good rewards for you during the Pan Tamriel event that's going to give you extra leads from these treasure maps. Now, the problem with that is that leads are not tradable. So pretty much everything you're getting from these treasure maps are not going to be tradable items that are going to be of value. But if you're interested in rare furnishings, this is a pretty good pickup. But also, too, because anytime these things enter the market, people think, oh my gosh, I need to dump these right away. You can see that the value of these things is, one, all over the place for a listing average, which is this green line here. But if you're interested, you can see generally we're on a downwards trend right now. So this is probably a good time to pick up these bad boys and just, you know, from the market and maybe hold on to them to the Pan Tamriel event. However, we could get to the weekend and everybody could have slurped them off the market because there's not that many listings right now for a rare treasure map. So I could see all of these just being taken off the market by buyers. So then you might want to think to yourself, maybe just using a little bit of Telvar is a decent exchange to try to get some of those good antiquity leads that I want. And check out my video where we broke down that event if you want to see some of the items that you can get from these treasure maps. Then we have our two rings that we have, the sets that we just talked about. So same concept, except maybe you might want to buy a ring if you're looking to get the set. Then we have Berserker, Protection, Taunt, and Anchorite's Cruelty. However, the problem is that if you don't have these bad boys already, it's going to be a little more expensive. And unfortunately, a little more expensive could be pretty expensive when it comes to Telvar. So Berserk, good, not necessary. Protection, mediocre. Taunt, probably good. Definitely one that you're going to want to have at least for the future. Anchorite's cruelty is fantastic. I love Anchorite's cruelty. Being cruel to anchors is great. The problem is that for 40,000 Telvar, you could basically send off one of your kids to college. So is it better to just keep doing daily quests or to just buy this outright? That will depend on you and your resources. If you're just somebody who spends all day in the Imperial City, you have tons of Telvar, and you don't do a lot of daily quests, boom, buy this. If not, probably you just want to go and get these bad boys just naturally by doing questing. And to round us off, we have Fragment of the Obsidian Scar. I also now just realized that this character that we're looking at, we only see their lower 2/3 of their body. But if you wanted to get this bad boy, it's just from Rivenspire. It's from an overworld, like, delve-esque place. So relatively straightforward. Do not stress about trying to get this bad boy. You just go there, kill that specific boss, and you will be hunky-dory, as the kids say. So that has been our Tuesday vendor flipped. Interesting items. We have one of the best maps in the game, but those maps are only good if you really want to get rare furnishings and antiquity leads. I will link to the ones that you can get in the description below if you're interested, or check out my videos that I've made on the upcoming event. They'll break down that information for you as well. Also, love to see the Torque of the Alien King. I have now purchased 3 out of the 5 pieces that I need for this thing. So and have gotten 0 of them from normal play. So we're almost there. So thank you guys, everyone, so much again for watching. Let me know what items interested you in the comments below, because we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you need to do to enter is leave a comments below. Just tell me what item interests you the most, or what are you looking out for the most? What item do you wish you could see in there? For me, it's the 2 other pieces of the Torque of the Alien King. Second thing is just make sure you subscribe/follow on Twitch and Twitter. And the third thing is look for a hidden word be flashed upon the screen. It will be coming very soon, if not already. So thank you guys so much again, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.